Nearly 2.5 months is a long time to go without making your Scorsese video. But finally, vrose and I are back, and we're just about halfway through our Scorsese series. Got about another 6 or 7 more movies left to go, which is fantastic. And what are we picking up with? One of my favorite Scorsese movies, a personal favorite of mine, Cape Fear. Now, for those of you who are just tuning in, and those of you, I got at about, I think, 40 new subscribers, at least, no, probably, no, more than that, more like 60 subscribers, since I did the Raging Bull video, which was the previous Scorsese series video that we have done. For those of you who aren't aware of what we're doing here, vrosebhappy and I have partnered up to do a director's series. And we did one earlier on David Fincher, but right now we're on Martin Scorsese. There's a link below to vrose's channel. We basically each do a video on our own channel on a particular Scorsese movie. We post them on the same day. And we've done a whole series, like I said, on David Fincher. So and we're working on Scorsese right now. So in the link below, in the description below, you'll see links not only to her channel, but also to a playlist where you can see all the previous videos that we've done in these two series. And of course, moving on from here, we'll cover more Scorsese films that we haven't done already. We selected about 12 to do, and so we're about halfway through. I believe this is number 6 that we're doing right now. So Cape Fear came out in 1991, and that just happened to be a few months after I graduated high school. And my friends and I were super stoked on Scorsese because Goodfellas had come out the previous year, and we loved the heck out of that movie. And Cape Fear was even bigger and badder and bolder. It was just an all-out thriller. I tend to think of this as Scorsese's Panic Room, and Panic Room is more like Fincher's Cape Fear. Straight genre thriller. This is a remake of a movie that came out, I think, in the 50s with Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck. Basically it's about the main character is Nick Nolte, who is a lawyer, and he's married to Jessica Lange, and they have a daughter, Juliette Lewis, who was about 19 years old when she made this movie, but she plays a 15-year-old. And about 14 years after one of his clients went to prison, said client has been released from prison and is about to make Nolte's life miserable. A client in question is, of course, Robert De Niro. He is a convicted rapist named Max Cady, and he says to him, "You are going to learn about loss. 14 years ago, I was forced to make a commitment to an 8x9 cell, and now you're going to be forced to make a commitment." One of many very memorable lines in this film. Now, Scorsese was basically found the script, or it was presented to him. The script was written by Wesley Strick, and he didn't really find it all that interesting. So his people said to him, "Look, Marty, if you're interested in the premise of this movie, but don't really like the script all that much, why don't you rewrite it?" So Scorsese added an element to the script, which is that Nick Nolte's character, Sam Bowden, the lawyer, actually screwed over De Niro and purposely withheld information or evidence that could have gotten De Niro off of the charges instead of sending him to prison. In other words, he didn't do his duty as his lawyer to provide the best defense that he possibly could, because he knew Max Cady was a very dangerous psychopath. In the intervening time, he has moved to another town, and he's been having marriage problems. He's been having an affair here and there with different women, and his relationship with his daughter is not really all that great. I like to think that these are side effects, symptoms of his guilt over having done his client wrong all those years ago, and things just have not been going. I mean, not that he hasn't done well. After all, he lives in a very, very nice house, and is clearly successful. But a little mistake that he made, the error in judgment, the wrong that he did to his client, who he was sworn to defend, has come back to bite him, so things are going to get very, very unpleasant. Now, a little bit about Scorsese's style in this movie. This style of filming stuff really just kind of takes off here. He pulls the stops out. Okay, there's all sorts of counted camera angles and zooms. This was also the first movie that Scorsese shot in true widescreen. If you watch his films chronologically, you'll see that, well, if you watch his film on a DVD on a flat screen TV, one of those 16:9 jobs, then you will see that all of his films prior to Cape Fear, including Goodfellas, were shot in a format which fills the entire screen. However, starting with Cape Fear and moving all the way to the present, they have those black bars at the top and the bottom to make the aspect ratio fit the screen. They have to basically shrink the image slightly in order to get it to fit. This is something that they've been doing since the early 90s or maybe even late 80s. They call it letterboxing. Now, of course, you've got widescreen DVDs and everything like that are more popular than the full frame versions. But yeah, so now so he sort of made this transition between them. He actually used a special kind of lens for Cape Fear, and went back to using normal lenses, just framing them carefully. It's kind of technical, but the point is that Scorsese really pulls out the stops again for this movie. Yeah, all kinds of just crazy shots. Barreling at people and pulling back again. There's one sequence in which he's talking with a friend of his in his office, and his secretary comes to the door. So the camera's focused on him, and then it pans away to his secretary, and she's sort of distant in the shot. And when it pans back to him, he's distant from the camera, and when it pans back to the secretary again, she's close in. Now, normally when a director will do one of those whip pans, but have a cut to a different take, they'll try and keep the camera angle consistent. They'll try and keep the distance between them consistent so it looks like one smooth move rather than there being a cut there. But Scorsese draws attention to the cuts by substituting, by whipping over to a different angle or a different distance from the subject, which sort of calls attention to himself. There's all kinds of crazy tricks in there. There's the scene where De Niro's getting beat up by the three guys, and Nick Nolte is hiding behind the dumpster watching, and the camera's just like barreling in on him, and all the shots surrounding the boat sequence with the twisting camera moves and stuff like that. One of my favorite shots in the whole movie is one where Nick Nolte is closing all the doors to his house and closing all the windows and everything like that to try and keep bad guys out. And there's a shot of him closing the door, and the camera's literally almost on its side like this. So Nick Nolte's head is in one corner of the frame, and his feet are all the way in the other side, across the widescreen. It's really, really a lot of fun. So much of this dialogue in this movie is incredibly memorable. The big scene that was talked about when this movie came out, of course, was the scene between Robert De Niro and Juliette Lewis when he approaches her at school pretending to be her teacher. He manages to basically get her alone, and you think, ooh, bad things are going to happen. But all he really does is talk to her. And nobody could shut up about this scene. Everyone thought it was so great. And one of the reasons why Juliette Lewis got a supporting actress nomination at the Oscars that year was for this scene. De Niro was also nominated for Best Actor that year. And I thought, well, this is kind of unfortunate because I'm pretty sure that this is probably the one time when De Niro is going to be nominated for Best Actor, and he's sure to not win just because the character is just so broad and over the top. Not that he doesn't play the character well, not that he isn't very, very menacing and intimidating or sly and funny when he needs to be. There's that scene with Sam Bowden's research assistant, Ileana Douglas, who's a fantastic actress, has been in a whole bunch of great movies. My favorite movie of hers is To Die For. But that whole scene is just one of the ways that he can be very sort of intimidating for those of us who know in the audience what kind of guy he is, but also very funny and personable. It's a great balance between the two. But the only problem that I have with this movie is the fact that they overdubbed a lot of De Niro's lines. If you listen carefully, the sound quality changes, or just the tone of his voice changes, because on the one hand, you've got him outdoors or on the set or whatever speaking, and on the other hand, you've got him in a recording booth, basically speaking his lines directly into a mic because they wanted to change the intonation, the inflection of a particular word or phrase or whatever, and those moments kind of stand out. They kind of make themselves known. It's very obvious when you hear what those lines are. Now, the weird thing is that during the big scene between De Niro and Juliette Lewis, some of his lines are redubbed, but none of hers are at all. Apparently, they thought she did great on the on the one take, and apparently they only did one take, or the very first take of that scene was the one they used in the movie. Pretty darn good, man. Nobody could shut up about that scene. Everyone was going on about just how fantastic that scene was. And to tell you the truth, I mean, I remember that scene so well that I have almost all of it committed to memory. I think I could start with I was thinking a lot about what you said last night, she said. And it made me think a lot. And he goes, those are human truths, darling. That's what it's all about, and that's what we deal with here. Notice that book you're carrying, Thomas Wolfe, all about self-discovery, the inner voyage. I like the end, Eugene's journey. It was kind of mystical, almost like a pilgrimage, almost like a cop-out, you ask me. Although those were the facts of Wolfe's life. Writers do find new freedom when they relocate abroad. Take Henry Miller. Ever read his trilogy, Platus, Nexus, and Sexus? No. You haven't read that? No. You're missing something. Well, I'll tell you what, I did read Tropic of Cancer. Did you now? Yeah, just parts of it because I had to sneak it off my parents' shelf. But his descriptions are pretty vivid, and I could just go on, like, I could do the whole scene like that. But yeah, everybody was talking about this scene. You know, it was 1991 when this movie came out, December, November, something like that. So I got to figure that sometime around maybe January or so of 1992, somebody walked over to my colleague V Rose's house to visit her parents and went over to V Rose, you know, who was playing happily. She's only a year old and going, "Oh, V Rose," or you know, V, you know, you're so adorable. Look at how big you're getting. Hey, did you see Cape Fear? Did you see that scene with Robert De Niro and Juliette Lewis? Oh my goodness, that was amazing. You have to see it. And she's like, I don't know. I'm just playing around there. But yeah, this is a terrific movie. It's one of my favorite Scorsese movies, and it's just, you know, just balls to the walls, just really out there and fun and crazy, and of course scary and violent. I mean, what happens with the assistant character, Ileana Douglas? Oh, that's horrible. I like Nick Nolte a lot in this movie too. Nick Nolte was kind of becoming. He's sort of having a resurgence as an actor, as a movie star at that point, you know. I just like the way he talks, you know, he's always really aggressive and, you know, I just love his tone of voice, and he's really fun in this movie a lot. That's a good one. Obviously, I'm very excited about the film itself. I'm excited to be back and doing Scorsese movie reviews with V. It's been way too long. I'm glad to see that she's back, and thank you all so much. I have, you know, I think pretty much almost 260 subscribers by now, which is terrific. So I'm very pleased by all the attention, and yeah, thanks very much for watching. Go to the link below, check out V Rose's video on Cape Fear, and take a look at some of the other movies. Obviously, we've got all the Fincher movies and a number of Scorsese movies already. If you're interested in those films, check out our videos for them. They're all in one place, very convenient. Thanks very much for watching. You thought about me last night, didn't you? Yes, I did. I know. You know, I think I may have found a companion for that long walk to the light. Do you mind if I put my arm around you? It's okay. You can't. Why not? 'Cause you're me. I gotta go. See ya.